Hi, in this video we're going to talk about ratios and all that this really means. A ratio is just something that compares two numbers that are called terms. So ratios can be written in three different forms. For example, we can write it with the word 2, we can write it with the colon, and we can write it as a fraction bar with a fraction bar. Okay, and this is the problem that we were writing as a ratio. If there are two girls for every three boys, then the ratio of boys to girls is 3 to 2. 3 to 2, 3 to 2. There's three different ways of writing it. Now what you want to pay attention to here is what they're asking for, because it's very, very important. We have two girls, right? And we have three boys. And the ratio that they're asking us for is the ratio of boys first. The first thing they ask us for is the boys. So we want to put the boys first, 3, and then we want to put the girls because they want us to write boys to girls. So that's why the 3 comes first and then the 2. If you put it backwards, the ratio would not be correct. It actually would be incorrect. So make sure that you understand that the order matters on how they're asking you to write the ratio. Okay, now let's look at this next section of the notes. This is express each ratio as a fraction in simplest form. So all you're doing in this section right here of the notes is rewriting these ratios as fractions, and you're gonna have to do it in simplest form. So you have to reduce all the way down. Okay. So the first one here, 12 to 27, you just write it as a fraction. 12 to 27. That's a 2, by the way. Okay. And then you reduce. Now this can be simplified by 3. Because I know 3 will divide 12, and that will give me 4. And I know 27 divided by 3 will give me 9. So my fraction in simplest term would be 4/9. And then this one here will be 16 to 24. And if you reduce it, you can divide by 4, and that will give me a 4. And if you divide 24 by 4, that will give me a 6. Now these are still not simplified all the way down, because this is an even number and that's an even number. So really, I need to divide it by 2 again. I could have started dividing by 8 at the beginning, but if you don't see that 8 can divide 16 and 24, you only see the 4 or you only see the 2, then you're going to have to keep dividing until you get to the lowest term. Okay, so 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So there's that one. And finally this one, I can see that both of them end in a 0, so I know I can divide this by 10. And I don't have to rewrite as a fraction because it's already a fraction, so they save me a little bit of work. 20 divided by 10 is 2, and 50 divided by 10 is 5. So my answer is 2/5. It's a really easy concept. This is the first concept of the second 6 weeks, so that's why this is really, really easy. And it's going to take us almost no time to do these notes. So here we go. Equivalent ratios. What you need to know about equivalent ratios is that this word right here, equivalent, means equal, right? So they must be equal to each other. It says different ratios that have the same value. That's what equivalent ratios are. Fill the blank spaces to create equivalent ratios. So here we have the fraction 5 to 8. So we need something here to compare to 16. So because we see this 8 right here and we see the 16, the second number, I know that if I multiply that 8 times 2, I get the 16, right? So if I do that to the second number, I also have to come back and do it to the first number. So 5 times 2 would give me 10. So the number missing is 10. So that's why they're equivalent, because all you have to do is multiply by 2, both numbers. If you multiply by a different number each one of these, then it will not be equivalent ratios anymore. So make sure you understand that. Now here's 25, right? Now 25 is going back to the beginning ratio over here. I'm going to erase this real quick. Let me get the eraser a little bit bigger so I can do it faster. There we go. This 5 right here, I know is the first number, and the first number over here is a 25. So what do I have to do to this 5 to make it a 25? I have to multiply by 5, right? And that gives me 25. That's where I got the 25. So if I do that to the first number, I gotta do it to the second number. So 8 times 5 will give me 40. So that's the 40 that goes right here. Okay. And now finally the 100. 100. Well, what are we gonna do here? Let's see. 8 times what will give us 100? I don't think there is a number to give us exactly 100, right? But we do know that we can write it as a fraction. So if we write this as a fraction, you have 5/8, and this one you have something over 100, right? Okay, well in this case, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you multiply by a number on the bottom to get you the number on the 100. But like I said before, there is not a number. If I multiply by 10, I get 80, right? I'm getting close to 100, but it's not there. And if you multiply by 12, you get 96. So that's even closer to 100. But if I add another 8, that would be 8 times 13. That would give me 104. Is that right? Yeah, 104. So it's going to be somewhere between 12 and 13, the number that I would have to multiply by to get exactly 100. All right, so it's going to be a decimal. So in this case, I want you to just leave it blank because we're going to talk about proportions later on, and this is not the one that this is not the video that I want to concentrate on proportions and how to solve them. So for right now, I'll leave this one blank, and we're going to go ahead and do the next practice problems. Okay, practice. Miss Madison asked each of her 20 students what was their favorite color. 1/5 of her students liked yellow. How many students liked yellow? All right. And 1/4 of her students liked purple. How many students liked purple? Okay, here's where we need to pay attention to keywords. I think I told you this before in another video, where the keyword of means to, see if you remember. What does it mean? Yeah, it means to multiply. Hopefully you remember that. And if you didn't, now you know. Of means you gotta multiply. So you gotta multiply 1/5 times her students. How many students did she have? She has 20 students. So for this problem, I will have to multiply 1/5 times 20. Now remember, you cannot multiply a fraction times a whole number, so you have to place a whole number over a 1 to make it an improper fraction. Then you can go ahead and multiply top times top will give you 20, and bottom times bottom, 5 times 1 will give you 5. So you have 20 divided by 5, and which equals 4. So 4 of her students like yellow. Okay. Now this one is the same thing. 1/4 of her students. You have to multiply times 20 because still her number of students is still 20. So you multiply that one out and tell me how many students like purple. Okay. The remaining of Miss Madison's liked green. How many students liked green? The remaining. That means that once you know this number right here and you know this number right here, you're going to add these two numbers together and subtract it from 20 to get how many are remaining. And those that are remaining is your how many people like green. So that one's a little bit different. But I'm not going to do it for you because we had a question just like this in the test we just saw. So I want you to make sure that you get it this time. Alright, application. Mr. Franklin asked each of his 30 students to select their favorite radio station. And 1/3 of the students chose K, station K, and 1/5 of the students chose station L. The remaining students chose station M. How many students chose station M? So again, this is the same kind of problem we did a few minutes ago, or we were going to do a few minutes ago. I'm actually going to help you out with this one so you can use it for the last one, okay? So we have 30 students. That's the total number of students. And remember the keyword of, that means to multiply. So we're going to multiply times the number of students. That's 30. So we're going to multiply 1/3 times 30. Here's the same thing. 1/5 times the number of students, which is 30. And then we're going to add them and subtract from 30, and we're going to get the remaining, which is going to be station M, which is going to be our answer. So here we go. 1/3 times 30. Put the 30 over 1 because it's a whole number. Multiply numerator times numerator. That gives you 30. 1 times 30. And then 3 times 1. Denominator times denominator. That gives you 3. Okay, so now we're going to divide 30 divided by 10, right? So this is 10 students that chose station. Now we're going to do the same thing for station L. Now we have 1/5 of the students, and we have 30 students total. So again, we'll put 30 over a 1 and multiply top times top, numerator times numerator, that's 30. And then the denominator times the denominator, that's 5. So 30 divided by 5 is going to give me 6. So we have 6 students. Okay. And finally, to find out how many chose station M, we have to add these two. So 10 plus 6 gives me 16 students, and we have to take that away from 30 because we need to know the remaining of them. So 16 minus 30, if you do that subtraction correctly, 10 minus 6 will give me 4, and 2 minus 1 will give me 1. So my answer is 14 students like station M. Those were the remaining students. And that's it. That's how you do the last one too. So if you need help, go back and finish that one now. Alright, Professor Jones counted mammals in a park. she counted 11 skunks, 12 rabbits, and 13 raccoons. What was the rabbit to mammal ratio? On this one, all you have to do is write the ratio. You don't have to actually do any calculations. But we do know that they have 11 skunks. So if I were you, I would write this information. And actually, I want you to write this information down like I'm about to, because this way you don't miss any information. So 11 skunks, and then we have 12 rabbits. So make sure you write those numbers as numbers, not as words like they give us to us here. That's sometimes confusing to some of us. So 12 rabbits and then 13 raccoons. And the question is, what is the rabbit to mammal ratio? Where all of these kind of animals, they're all mammals. So they're asking us for mammals. We have to add them all together to find out how many total mammals we have. And if we add them all together, you'd see 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So we have 36 mammals, right? So now we can write the ratio of rabbits to mammals. The first one number, or the first word they give us is rabbits. The second number they give us, or the second term that they want us to write, is mammals. So the first thing I'm going to write is this number of rabbits right here, this 12, and then the number of mammals, which is 36. So to answer their question, the ratio is 12 to 36. You can write it with words, you can write it using the colon, or you can write it as a fraction. Now if you write it as a fraction, you can probably see that this can be reduced, right? You can divide by 12 both of those. And if you divide by 12, you end up with 1 over 3. So the ratio, both of these are equivalent ratios, which is what we talked about a few minutes ago. This ratio right here is equal to 1/3. Notice the equal sign right there, right? Because it was just simplified. So those are my answers for this problem. And that's it. I'm done. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you filled out your notes by now. You know how to write ratios. When you get to class, we can go forward from there.